Tam Nakano was several months into her first reign with the white belt in the summer of 2021, and was on a strong run with the title. A title she had helped build into a title of passion within Stardom, with only the bravest Joshi stepping up and challenging the Queen of the Cosmos, Tam Nakano. It's an idea that Tam had pushed to great lengths during her reign because of how important she believes passion is to pro wrestling. It's a notion that Kamitani also shares, stating to Number magazine, quote, "Women's professional wrestling has a lot of emotions compared to the boys, and I think it's important," end quote. Kamitani was very dedicated to promoting stories over than just being realised as a great pro wrestler. She wanted to leave a mark, in the way she hadn't in the idol scene due to the lack of endorsement and opportunities. Stardom was a blank canvas, and Saya Kamitani was wielding a magic paintbrush. She wished to surpass her original mentor in July, but fell short after a grueling 22-minute sprint in Yokohama. After defeating Tam in the 5-star Grand Prix tournament in early August, however, Saya set herself up for another title shot, which she would get in December. Kamitani may have not won the 5-star Grand Prix like the eventual winner Sayuri, but she had picked up another win over Tam Nakano in the process, especially whilst Tam was still champion. Kamitani's motive and focus going into the rematch had shifted drastically to their previous encounters. In July, she was trying to overtake her mentor and was fighting as the underdog. But by December, Saya believed she had already overtaken Tam. She had reason to believe that as well, as despite losing in July, she had held a 3-2 record over the champion. It was at this moment in time, Saya had to reckon with all her past losses and lessons she'd been taught by Stardom veterans, especially Tam Nakano. Tam told Saya straight to her face that Saya didn't understand her own flaws and weaknesses, and couldn't harness them into change or something positive. Saya, however, felt very different, saying in the press conference ahead of their December showdown that she had faced every part of her that she hated. Saya had battled her own demons both literally and metaphorically throughout her Stardom journey, and even before then, previously cursing her body for failing her at her idol dream. As I previously mentioned, Tam Nakano had always rooted for her former protege, despite the path she chose to take being far from what Tam had originally envisioned. That was never more clearer than when she stood at ringside, her smile beaming from ear to ear as she watched Kamitani's coronation as the Cinderella tournament winner, taking pride in the success that her student had achieved. As the two stood face to face in the semi-main event, under the bright lights in Ryogoku, the tension in the building had risen to unparalleled heights. Saya chose to push the pace of the match and consequently pushed Tam out of her usual title defense format of controlling the pace. Tam caught Saya with her violent screwdriver and the Twilight Dream suplex, only for Saya to expand her arm, clutching at the bottom rope as though her life depended on it. Expelling the last of her energy in that attempt to finish the job, Tam was unable to withstand a final onslaught. Kamitani finished the match and the year the same way she'd started it, soaring through the air with a Phoenix splash to win the biggest match of her career to this point. Saya Kamitani was the Wonder of Stardom champion, with Nakano on her knees strapping the gold around Saya's waist. At this point in time, watching her mentor on her knees beneath her, Saya was surely reminded of Tam's message back when she was a mere rookie, about how Stardom was different to the rejection she'd faced in the past. This wasn't the idol world, this was professional wrestling. Tam Nakano told her it would be different here. How much work you would put in would determine how far you got. For Saya Kamitani, she put in a lot of effort, working hard to learn how to stand out. And in actual fact, just being herself, she stood out immediately. She had found an industry that rewarded the time that she put in. When I was an idol, I gave so much effort all the time and got nothing for it. The more I tried, the more scared I became. But if you put in that effort with pro wrestling, it will pay you back. Those were the famous words that echoed Ryogoku Hall that night. Kamitani was thriving. But Tam made it clear after the match that there was only room for one star at the top of the Stardom tree. And 2022 would be a year of sheer dominance for Saya Kamitani. The year 2022 was definitely Kamitani's year, propelling the white belt to new heights. She would start the year by successfully defending the title in January against Mirai in Nagoya and Natsupoi in February. On the first night of the Stardom World Climax 2022, from March 26th, she defended the title against Utami Hayashishita, and on the second night from March 27th, against Tam Nakano. One of Kamitani's very few blips in a historic year came at the Cinderella tournament, the tournament she had won the year prior. Saya was eliminated after her second round match against Maika, which resulted in a time limit draw, with the rules of the tournament stating that both competitors would be eliminated in the event of a tie. This outcome advanced the winner of another bracket to the next round, as neither Kamitani nor Maika could beat one another within the allotted 15 minutes. At Stardom's Golden Week Fight Tour on May 5th, 2022, she defended the Wonder of Stardom Championship once again against Maika, who had earned the opportunity due to the draw in the Cinderella tournament, seeing as Saya was the white belt holder at the time. She defended it against Mirai on Stardom's Flashing Champions event as well on May 28th. At Stardom Fight in the Top on June 26th, Kamitani teamed up with Azumi and Utami Hayashishita and competed in one of Stardom's first ever steel cage matches, where they fell short to the Stars trio of Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, and Hazuki. Kamitani would then return to regular title defences against the likes of Starlight Kid, Himika, and Mina Shirakawa in July, August, and November respectively, with seemingly no one on the Stardom roster capable of toppling the Golden Phoenix. At Stardom Gold Rush on November 19th, 2022, Kamitani wrestled to a time limit draw against Kairi in another defence of the Wonder of Stardom Championship, the closest anyone had come to even matching the unrivaled success of Kamitani in the year of 2022. She'd lost the occasional unit or tournament match throughout the year, but when the white belt was at stake, Kamitani clutched onto it and held it closer to her heart than anything else, that if anyone else even dared to take it off her, they'd have to take her heart along with it. As the year came to a close, Stardom's biggest show of the year was upon the horizon. And once again, even the biggest of stages couldn't faze the Phoenix, as Kamitani once again successfully defended the Wonder of Stardom Championship in the semi-main against Haruka Umesaki. It wasn't until 4 months into the following year that Kamitani's white belt glory came to a screeching halt. On April 23rd, 2023, at All-Star Grand Queendom, Kamitani would lose the Wonder of Stardom Championship to Mina Shirakawa, ending her reign at 480 days and a record-setting 15 successful title defences. In an attempt to regain her gold, Kamitani competed at the 2023 5-Star Grand Prix, but withdrew from the tournament after she suffered a legitimate dislocated elbow during her first match of the tournament against, who else, but Tam Nakano on July 23rd. After over 4 months on the sidelines, Kamitani made her return on November 28th alongside her Aphrodite teammate Utami Hayashishita, who had also been out due to injury. At Nagoya Big Winter on December 2nd, Aphrodite won the vacant Goddess of Stardom Championships by defeating Divine Kingdom, the duo of Maika and Megan Bayne, before dropping the belts to Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira on March 30th of 2024. It was clear that after a strong 2021 and a spectacular 2022, Kamitani's momentum had slowly dipped. To make matters even worse, at Stardom The Convention event on June 22, 2024, Kamitani teamed up with the rest of Queen's Quest, including Azumi, Lady C, Hina, and Mayu Amasaki, and fell short to the leading heel unit in Stardom, Odatai. The team of leader Natsuko Tora, Tekla, Rina, Momo Watanabe, and Ruka in a 10-woman elimination tag match. Per the stipulation of the match, since Kamitani was the last wrestler eliminated, Azumi, Hina, Lady C, and Emazaki all had to leave Queen's Quest. Thus, Kamitani remained the only member of the unit for a certain period of time. At Stardom All-Star Grand Queendom 2024 on April 27th, Kamitani won the High Speed Championship from Saki Kashima in a four-way match which also involved Saya Iida and Fukigen Death, showing signs that 2024 might be a revamping time in the career of the Golden Phoenix. But she would ultimately drop the belt to Mei Seira on July 28, 2024, on the second night of Stardom's Sapporo World Rendezvous event. Leading up to this night, she had begun to find a friend in the current Wonder of Stardom Championship, Maika. The two would team several times, hanging out on the occasion too, all of which raised Saya's confidence. But the loss to Mei Seira would shatter that immensely, leaving the Golden Phoenix broken. Kamitani's career in Stardom felt like it had reached an all-time low, losing her white belt, suffering an injury setback, as well as suffering crucial losses that stifled any momentum she was trying to build. It's also worth noting that on March 31st, 2024, Utami Hayashishita left Stardom after her contract expired, following an announcement in late March that she, alongside several others, would be departing to join Rossi Ogawa's new promotion, Marigold. Her final Stardom match was on that same day, where her group's Queen's Quest lost to H.A.T.E. Despite Kamitani's incredible performances and ability, she was still only human, and could only take so much loss. The years of hurt and rejection she faced in her younger days with her idol Dream began to feel like they were repeating all over again. And a change needed to happen. And in the world of pro wrestling, it's kill or be killed. Enter the Phenex Queen, Saya Kamitani. On the same night that Saya Kamitani would lose one of the last true pieces of her sanity and hope she had left for her career, she let the darkness seep in. Or more so, she let the darkness take over entirely. Fast forward to the main event of Sapporo World Rendezvous, as Kamitani's newfound friend Maika is defending the red belt against Nakuto Tora, the leader of H.A.T.E, the group that took down Queen's Quest once and for all just a month prior. Kamitani turned heel when she interfered with the referee, giving Tora momentum to pick up the victory and the World of Stardom Championship. Kamitani declared Queen's Quest dissolution, joining forces with Tora and the rest of the H.A.T.E members. Tora then declared the dissolution of H.A.T.E and the birth of an entirely new creation, H.A.T.E. With this, Kamitani would finally find a home with the darkness that was eating away at her since the disbanding of Queen's Quest, in the form of H.A.T.E, which simultaneously cost Maika the title that had always eluded Kamitani. Saya would begin wearing all black, presenting a much grittier in-ring style to complement her newfound look and persona, now going by the moniker of the Phenex Queen. This new edge to Kamitani gave her a new lease of life, which was on show during the 2024 5-Star Grand Prix throughout August. Kamitani went on a strong run, toppling Risa Sera, Tekla, Rona Yamagi, Suzu Suzuki, Starlight Kid, and Hanan, before ultimately falling victim to Maika in the tournament final on August 31st. As we got closer to the end of the year, Kamitani and the rest of H.A.T.E would get into an immense rivalry with one of the top factions in Stardom, Cosmic Angels, with Saya specifically entering into a feud she knew very well, against the leader of Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano. These two women just seemed to be destined to meet again, this time with Nakano holding the red belt, the top prize in Stardom. It seemed like every show, whenever there was a chance for an attack, Kamitani and the rest of H.A.T.E would take the opportunity to make sure that the Cosmic Angels, and especially Nakano, were in a living hell. Kamitani seemed to have an immense hatred and disgust toward Nakano, blaming her in particular for Saya's descent into madness. We would arrive to the final Stardom pay-per-view of 2024, Dream Queendom, and the match between Kamitani and Tam Nakano for the World of Stardom Championship. This match would feature multiple emotional moments, callbacks to former matches, as well as just an overall sense of change in the tide being imminent. Kamitani would end up earning a hard-fought victory due to her taking advantage of her past with Tam, and using it against her to hit a spinning star crusher on Nakano, and for the first time in her career, capturing the World of Stardom Championship. Two birds with one stone, as you may say. With floods of tears in her eyes, once again, history had repeated itself. Nakano dropped to her knees and strapped the gold around the waist of Saya Kamitani, the new World of Stardom champion. As we settled into the new landscape of Stardom post-Dream Queendom, Saya Kamitani took her new name as the Phenex Queen to yet another level, promising to rule over Stardom, and anyone she viewed as beneath her and her fellow members of H.A.T.E would be known as her servants. This would be demonstrated in a feud she would have with Suzu Suzuki, as after every match involving a match between H.A.T.E and one of the newest units in Neo Genesis, Saya would try to talk down to Suzu, and want her to bow and kiss her feet, as it were. After defeating Suzu Suzuki at Stardom's Supreme Fight on February 5th, 2025, Saya would find herself embroiled once again with their oldest rival Tam Nakano. Only this time around, the stakes would be raised to another level. These two were energetically aligned, destined for fight for the biggest prize in Stardom. Whilst the World of Stardom title would be on the line, it was something greater that they were fighting for, as their match in the main event of All-Star Grand Queendom on April 27th would be Korea versus Korea. With each attack, Kamitani would make her intentions clear. She wanted to take the World of Stardom Championship from Nakano and bring it back to where she believed it belonged, in H.A.T.E. But more importantly, she wanted to prove that she deserved to be the one who rules over Stardom. You may remember that back in 2021, as I mentioned earlier, Tam told Saya there wasn't room for the two of them at the top of Stardom. Well now, there wasn't room for both of them, period. One of these women was about to lose it all, and hand over everything they'd built to their bitter rival. What unfolded that night inside of a packed Yokohama arena was something beautifully poetic. A match of the year contender, no doubt, and a match that truly propelled Saya Kamitani beyond just the reaches of Stardom, as the wider wrestling community stood up and took notice of the Phenex Queen. Even before the bell, Kamitani's entrance in particular was pure magic. The music score, attire, lighting, it was an absolute cinema, and arguably the best wrestling entrance I've probably ever seen. Kamitani started the match out the stronger, choking out Nakano with a chain around one of the ring posts, with the referee reluctant to disqualify either woman, knowing what was at stake. The match swayed back and forth before coming to a close after a grueling 26-minute war. And it was Tam Nakano who, for a third and final time, dropped to her knees and strapped the gold around Kamitani's waist, closing the door to her incredible Stardom career once and for all. Despite the overwhelming animosity, both women were extremely emotional, as they both snapped back into reality, knowing that Tam had just wrestled her final ever match. Following the match, Kamitani gave a tearful speech in praise of Nakano, about how everything she did in her career was because of Nakano, and even going as far as retiring her. Nakano responded back, and an equally tearful speech emerged, and ended up giving a curse to both Kamitani and everyone watching in the crowd. Nakano asked Saya, "Are you glad you became a pro wrestler?" With a tearful Kamitani responding, "Of course, I'm so happy to have met you, idiot." Kamitani and Nakano then went back and forth, expressing their love and friendship for each other, as they hobbled towards the stage. Nakano and Kamitani then sat down, tearful, and looked up one last time together as the screen faded to black to close out the show. Kamitani came to realize that Nakano pushed her every step of the way, whereas Saya brought out the fire within Tam to keep wrestling, and gave her something to fight for. They may have been bitter rivals, but they were ultimately each other's biggest supporter. Thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this one because it took a damn long time to make, and a hell of a lot of research too. But to be honest, I've really enjoyed it. I get to learn along the way loads of new things about pro wrestling, and that is always a lovely thing. But that's all for me. Until next time, Empire out.